Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Let's get straight to the docket. First, Donald Trump takes the fifth. A suspect is arrested in 2 murders, and he's also the primary suspect in 2 other murders. Then we have the honor killer. He's been convicted. Alec Murdaugh wants to pump the brakes on his civil cases. That's right, because he'd have to take the fifth. And it took 50 years to get justice. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. Let's get to the docket, but you know the drill. First, subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, hit that little bell so you receive notifications, and remember, you can always listen to us on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Let's get straight to the docket for August 10th, 2022. Former President Donald Trump said he refused to answer questions today at a deposition by investigators for the New York Attorney General's office, and specifically Letitia James, as part of her civil probe into his business activities. Now, Mr. Trump announced that he had invoked his Fifth Amendment right against making self-incriminating statements shortly after arriving for his scheduled court-ordered deposition under oath. He put out a statement and said, quote, "I once asked if you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment? Now I know the answer to that question," Trump said in a furious statement that railed against James as a renegade prosecutor with a vendetta against him. When your family, your company, and all the people in your orbit have become a target of an unfounded, politically motivated witch hunt supported by lawyers, prosecutors, and the fake news media, you have no choice, according to Mr. Trump. Now, accordingly, under the advice of counsel, and for all of the above reasons, I decline to answer the questions under the rights and privileges afforded to every citizen under the United States Constitution, he said. Now, a spokesperson for Attorney General James did not respond to any requests for comments, but in an unrelated criminal investigation, Trump's deposition came 2 days after the FBI raided his home at Mar-a-Lago Club in Palm Beach, Florida, where they seized what his attorney said were about a dozen boxes of documents. That search was related to an ongoing investigation into whether laws were broken when boxes of White House records, which included some documents marked as classified, ended up at Mar-a-Lago instead of the National Archives. And we'll see how that plays out. It's unprecedented, but if crime's been committed, I get it. Just seems a little overboard for some records. It seems like something most attorneys could usually negotiate or return to the National Archives. But there's an easy way and there's a hard way. Everybody always picks the hard way. But on a positive note, it is good to see that Mr. Trump is finally listening to somebody, including his attorneys. Now, when the other side is asking you questions and you could possibly be exposed to criminal prosecution, you have to exercise your Fifth Amendment rights. And remember, anything that you say can and will be used against you, misconstrued, and taken out of context. I have told many a client over the years, it is better to look guilty than to be found guilty. It's in the Constitution. Okay, I've said this once and I will say it again. Listen, if they are interviewing the subject or want to speak with the subject and they have not filed charges or anything along those lines, my advice to my clients is always, don't say a word. If they had enough to charge you, they would have done it by now. Do not give them any wiggle room to make it so that you get charged. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution, here's a quick little tidbit about it. The Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution addresses criminal procedure and other aspects of the Constitution. It was ratified along with 9 other articles in 1791 as part of the Bill of Rights. You know, the first 10 amendments. The Fifth Amendment applies to every level of government, including the federal, state, and local levels in regards to U.S. citizens or residents of the United States. The Supreme Court furthered the protection of this amendment through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. It states, no person shall be subject, except in cases of impeachment, to more than one punishment or trial for the same offense, nor shall be compelled to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor be obliged to relinquish his property where it may be necessary for public use without just compensation. So, except in cases of impeachment and cases arising in land or naval forces or the militia when on actual service in time of war or public danger, in all crimes punishable with loss of life or member, presentment or indictment by a grand jury shall be an essential preliminary.
Like many Americans, we got a dog during the pandemic. My quarantine dog, Miss Winnie the Bulldog. Now, Miss Winnie has grown accustomed to being around us all the time. When we were leaving the house, Winnie would have extreme anxiety, so we decided to look for natural products to help with her anxiety. We looked for the highest quality CBD treats, and we were not satisfied, and neither was Winnie. So we created a high-quality CBD product that absorbs faster and provides the required results faster. Baked in Colorado, CBD treats and beverage enhancers are made with nanotechnology. The nanotechnology makes the CBD extraction more pure, also allows for Baked in Colorado products to work faster. Baked in Colorado products can help reduce your pet's anxiety, ease joint pain, and help with your dog's skin problems. Go to our online store and see what Baked in Colorado product is best for your dog. When you order at bakedincolorado.com, enter code WINNIE and receive 15% off your first order. We have a 30-day money-back guarantee. If your dog does not experience the desired results in 30 days, return the product and we will refund your money. No questions asked.
Next in the docket, a suspect has been arrested for 2 murders, and he's the prime suspect in 2 more. All right. So police in Albuquerque, New Mexico, identified the man suspected of killing 4 Muslim men in the city as Mohammed Saeed. He's 51 years old. Now, so far, Saeed is charged with killing Aftab Hussein on July 26 and Muhammad Afzal Hussein on August 1st. Police said they are working with local prosecutors on potential charges for the August 5th murder of Naeem Hussein and the November 7th murder of Mohammed Zaire Ahmadi. Now, Saeed drove a Volkswagen Jetta that was used in at least one of the murders, according to the police, and investigators say they linked Aftab Hussein and Muhammad Hussein, their killings, because of bullet casings at the respective scenes. They said they found the murder weapon when searching Saeed's home overnight. Now, detectives discovered evidence that shows that the offender knew the victim to some extent and had an interpersonal conflict, which may have led to the shooting, according to police. Now, a guy by the name of Ahmed Asid, president of the Islamic Center of New Mexico, said that authorities have told him that the suspect, a Sunni Muslim, was mad about his daughter marrying a Shiite Muslim. Go figure. He and the cops reportedly note, however, that the details of this remained sketchy, and at least one of the victims was Sunni. Go figure. The Islamic Center in New Mexico is a mosque where at least 3 of the victims attended religious services. So going in chronological order, Mohammed Zaire Ahmadi was killed on November 7th outside of a business that he and his brother ran. He was from Afghanistan. Aftab Hussein was killed on July 26. According to officers, Muhammad Afzal Hussein died on Monday, August 1st. And on Friday, just before midnight, officers responded to reports of a shooting in the area of Truman Street and Grand Avenue. There they found a man that was deceased. He was later identified as Naeem Hussein, who is originally from Pakistan. The local business owner, Mullah Akbar, said Naeem had attended Hussein's burials. Police have previously said Ahmadi, Hussein, and Hussein were ambushed. We'll continue to follow this because, when you start killing 4 people because you don't like the religion of your daughter's husband, it doesn't seem to make sense to kill people aren't associated with that. I think it will get interesting. And hey, it's kind of like, the guy that was found guilty on Tuesday, he was convicted of shooting his own daughters to death. The murder conviction was years in the making. Sisters Sarah Saeed, 17, and Amina Saeed were found deceased in a taxi cab in front of the Omni Hotel in Irvine, Texas, back on January 1st of 2008. Their father, the defendant, Yasser Saeed, was nowhere to be found. He fled, winding up on the FBI's most wanted list while he hid at a family home, according to police reports. Investigators found him at their residence in Justin, Texas in 2020. He maintained that he was the victim of a botched law enforcement investigation, that he loved his daughters, and that he did not kill either one of them. But it was his daughter, Sarah, who mustered the strength to make a final call to 911 and identify her father as a killer. The call went, "Help! My dad shot me," she said in a 911 audio call that was played for the jury. "I'm dying." And yes, ladies and gentlemen, that would normally be hearsay, but that is a dying declaration. You know you're dying, and you basically identify the culprit that did it. That's admissible. That's coming in. Well, Mr. Yasser was reportedly obsessive and abusive. He fixated on his daughters dating non-Muslim American boys, and his behavior apparently was well known. Many people said that they knew the threat was real, and that Amina, one of his daughters, told family friends that her dad might kill them. Several relatives described the murders as honor killings, not a defense. But the defendant made no secrets of his displeasure about his daughters' lives. He denied murdering them. He stated, "I was not happy about my kids' dating activity." He reportedly wrote a judge while in jail, "But I did not do the killings or any plan to hurt them." He testified on his own behalf. He said he was driving the taxi where they were found in to dinner with his daughters when he believed someone was following them. Saeed thought the people might have been his daughter's friend or someone out to kill him. Thinking he was in danger, but that his daughters were safe, he said he abandoned the vehicle and told the girls that they could take it. He described this as a very stupid decision to make, according to his testimony. Now, defense lawyer Joseph Patton suggested during closing that Sarah, during the 911 call, was hallucinating due to the trauma of being shot. And the defense also argued that investigators botched the case and zeroed in on Saeed because he was Muslim. Now, during cross-examination, prosecutor Lauren Black confronted Saeed about why he left his gun in the taxi if he thought he was in danger, and why he didn't use his cell phone to call for help. She also grilled him on his reasoning for leaving his daughters in the taxi. She pointed out also that he didn't go to any of his daughter's funeral. His response was yes, because of the unfair and hateful media coverage at the time, was his response. Well, like I said, he's convicted. Life not going anywhere except jail. Next on the docket, Mr. Alec Murdaugh wants to pump the brakes on his civil matters. Why, you may say? Well, he wants to do that because obviously he's now been charged in a high-profile murder, alleging that he killed his wife and son. And guess what? The civil case, the wrongful death action, which stems from the fatal 2019 boating crash, could unearth incriminating information against Mr. Murdaugh, which prosecutors could basically use against him and help make his murder case. Is that a valid argument? Absolutely. Alex Murdaugh will certainly be prejudiced if discovery is not stayed in the upcoming trial, and if it's not continued. That's basically the gist of the argument from the defense. Obviously, in a criminal case, discovery is very limited, and the state has yet to articulate any logical motive for Alex Murdaugh to have murdered his wife and son. That's the argument of the attorneys, and the state does not have the ability to depose Mr. Murdaugh or even call him before a grand jury to question him about these relationships because of his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. So the prosecution can't explore those. However, if the civil case proceeds, the state would be able to, assist the civil attorneys and explore their various theories through the deposition. Now, normally what happens when there is a civil case filed and a criminal case directly related to that, most judges will stay the civil proceedings and see what plays out in the criminal case. In a very small circumstances, what I've seen is the courts will say, we'll let the case carry on, the civil case carry on for some time. We'll just wait taking, the defendant's deposition. Now, remember, you can assert the Fifth Amendment in a civil case, but you will get an instruction that says that the jury can use that against you when coming up with, whether somebody is responsible civilly, and then as to damages, which is a lot different than in the criminal case where the jury actually gets instructions from the judge saying you cannot use the defendant's silence against you in any way. But let's get real. The civil case is the least of Alex Murdaugh's concerns. He's charged with double homicide, intentional first-degree murder homicide. For goodness sakes, who cares about the civil case? Go in and plead the fifth. It should get stayed. We'll see if the court agrees with my analysis. Next on the docket, it took 50 years, but justice. An 86-year-old man was recently sentenced to life in prison in connection with his wife's death nearly 50 years ago. Richard Pierce was convicted of first-degree murder and disinterment of a corpse on April 29th and handed the mandatory life sentence on August 5th. Now, the Door County judge also handed Mr. Pierce an extra 3 years for the disinterment conviction. Like that matters, right? Well, Richard Pierce's wife, Carol Jean Pierce, disappeared in 1975 from their home in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, and she wasn't reported missing for almost 3 months. A detective who worked on the case said she and other investigators believe Pierce kept his wife's body in their house, but moved it a few years later. Now, Richard Pierce was arrested in October of 2018 in Michigan, where he reportedly moved after Carol Jean went missing in September of 1975. He reportedly worked for the United States Coast Guard and was going to retire shortly after reporting his wife missing. Carol Jean and Richard Pierce would apparently get into some quite heated arguments, including in front of friends. And Carol Jean apparently told a friend at one point that her marriage to the defendant was volatile. That's an understatement. It just shows you sometimes the wheels of justice move slowly, but usually they get it right. Next on the docket, a little bit of a bonus for you. According to law enforcement officials, a school bus driver was recently accused of harassing a student and threatening him with kidnapping and torture if the student didn't obey his demands. Well, the United States Attorney's Office in New Hampshire said that Michael Chick, who is a 39 years old, was arrested and charged with interstate stalking. And according to the statement, Mr. Chick worked as a driver at the Greenland Central School in Greenland, New Hampshire. Chick is alleged to have threatened a child attending the Greenland Central School and threatening the child's family, and to have traveled from Maine to New Hampshire to make the threats. According to the court documents, it is alleged that Mr. Chick's contact with the unidentified 8-year-old child began back in April of this year. Chick allegedly would give the boy and his sister gifts and leave them messages if they were absent from school and not on the bus that he was driving. Because that's not weird and creepy, is it, ladies and gentlemen? So on July 2nd, the boy's parents discovered 2 track phones inside the child's room. The boy told his parents that Chick provided the phones to him. The boy's parents eventually informed police about their son's contact with Chick and provided the track phones to the officers. Court documents further allege that Chick told the boy that, quote, the team, end quote, had between 8 to 800 members, and that if the boy did not meet their demands, the team would go to Plan B, which would result in the boy being kidnapped and tortured. Little odd for sure. Well, the court documents detail a number of conversations Chick had with the boy, including one in which he tried to give him a phone and told the boy, remember our deal. The reason they haven't gone to that, and then it's kind of inaudible, is I've been paying $1,000 a week, once again inaudible, hold them off while I try to figure out what I got to do. Guy was clearly playing some mind games with this kid. And then on August 5th, a police officer met with the boy's parents and reviewed further conversations the boy had with Chick on the phone. The court documents say that the boy had talked about an organization that Chick referred to as the team. Chick told the boy that the team was the organization that was making threats toward the boy and his family. Now, Chick's attorney did not respond to request for comments. The United States Attorney for New Hampshire, Jane Young, said at a press conference, as law enforcement officers, it is paramount that we protect our most valuable, and in this case, most vulnerable, is the children. Let's get one thing straight, ladies and gentlemen. If you find out your bus driver is communicating with your 8-year-old son, call the police immediately, okay? Don't hesitate. You go straight to the police. I don't know what this chick guy has going on, but it is weird. It is not right. And he is probably grooming this kid to do very inappropriate things. Fortunately, from what we can tell, it didn't get to that level. But that is just weird and creepy. And I've said this once and I'll say it again. Don't let other adults hang out with your children. That's not normal behavior. It's just not done. All right? I'm not talking family members, but even then, you got to be careful. If you look at the statistics, something bad's going to happen. It's usually going to be not from a stranger, but somebody you know, because they have to build up the trust. Okay? Take it from somebody who's done these cases for a long time, probably done too many of them, probably makes me as cynical as I am, but I'm telling you, protect your kids. Don't let them be communicating with adults when they're 8 or 9 or 10 or 13. It's just weird, okay? All right, that's your free legal advice for the day. All right, finally, our dumb criminal of the day. A Florida woman is facing domestic assault charges for allegedly throwing, get this, we've had a lot of food crime, but today it was a raw steak she threw at her partner during a confrontation on Sunday. Police allege that Rochelle Wright and the male victim were involved in a verbal argument and were intoxicated. Another common denominator seems to be with food. Food and alcohol and drugs. Good decisions being made all around. When the uncooked meat went airborne. Police allege that Rochelle Wright and the male victim were involved in a verbal argument, and they were both intoxicated when the uncooked meat went airborne, according to police reports. Now, apparently, the couple had been together for 20 years, and they are the parents of a juvenile. And according to the criminal complaint, Wright became very angry at the victim while he was seated in a chair inside the family's home in Tarpon Springs, a Tampa suburb. It's alleged that Wright allegedly picked up the steak and threw it at the victim. The meat, however, missed its mark. Instead, the steak struck the victim's chair and a nearby wall. Still a crime. When questioned by police, Wright reportedly admitted to the meat flinging, saying that she was tired of his behavior and their arguing. Well, Miss Wright has been arrested for domestic assault and booked into the county jail on misdemeanor charges. She was released from custody on her own recognizance. It is noted that the steak was not collected and put into evidence, but it was identified as a weapon. Hopefully they took a picture of that. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, food crimes and domestic violence crimes. How many cases have we had involves food? I just don't get it. Food should bring people together. Food should make people happy. It should not be an instrument of violence. Just remember that. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.